Hmm. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. My name is Kieran, and I help people using a spiritual perspective. So today I come to you from somewhere, a house. Here I am. Hello. And I wanted to talk to you about changing our present experience. Okay, so basically the desire, the need that we have to change what we're currently experiencing and to hopefully change into something else, right? So let's say you're feeling depressed or sad or anxious, and that's a result of maybe some external circumstance, something you're going through, and you want to change that experience to something a little bit more positive, maybe some feelings of flow, alignment, happiness, right, peace, right? So we're always constantly trying to get from some point right here to a point over here, represented by this water bottle. And we are completely unable to do that so many times. I've noticed this in my own life a lot, um, like very, very much so, especially recently, is that I'm falling into this sort of trap or this pattern, which is a trap, where the present moment is uncomfortable, right? And what we're experiencing is uncomfortable. And we want to get to the future somehow, maybe through a time machine or something. We want to get to the future where it won't suck so much, where it won't suck, but it does suck right now, right? So this is the problem. This is the idea, is that we don't need to change our present experience, right? This is something that I'm forgetting. I think a lot of people are forgetting as well, is that we don't actually need to change what we're experiencing. So another way of putting that is what we're currently going through is perfect the way that it is, right? So there is no reason to change what we're experiencing, because if you want to get to this place in the future, or these other kinds of feelings, or this other experience in your your fantasy here, your mind, you have to go through what's going on here, what's in the present. If you feel uncomfortable now and you want to feel peaceful in the future, you can't really get to that place unless you sort of accept, understand, and sort of go through what you're going through at the current moment, right? To accept the present as it is. So it is perfect the way that it is, because sometimes I catch myself worrying, getting into these weird tangents inside of my mind. What should I do? Where should I go? Is my nose too big? Things like that. And it really, obviously, there's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions, but the worry, the anxiety, the uncomfortable feelings that result of these sort of emotions in the present moment, they are hard to get out of, right? That they feel very negative. And it occurs to me in these sort of deep tangents of mine at some point, luckily at some point it does occur to me that these are absolutely normal, necessary even. They're completely part of your own human experience, your own spiritual journey, whatever it is that you're going through. It is an absolute necessity of yours to experience. So it is perfect the way that it is. What you're experiencing is necessary and wonderful, because it is the pinnacle of your experience. It is everything that's led up to this moment. So whatever you're experiencing now, and the now and the future, whenever you get to these feelings, these moments where everything seems lost and uncertain, and you're not very sure of what to do or where to go with all this, you have to keep in mind that what you're experiencing is what you're meant to experience. It's not a pithy way of saying that you should just, not worry at all, or that you shouldn't try to change your circumstances, right? I mean, there are lots of practical actions we can do. But when it comes down to what we can't control, which is probably 80% of everything that we think we can, you start to get into this perspective where there is nothing else to do. Is all you have is your thoughts, what you're feeling, the current experience that you're going through. And when you're trying to shift out of that, it actually causes more pain and more anxiety, more sort of destruction of self. So I'll notice this, like in examples of my own life, to give a better idea of what I'm talking about here is, say if I'm waking up and I'm already in a weird mood, or something, I don't know, like I'm anxious, or I'm tired, or haven't slept very well, and you start to plan out your day for all these things that you that you should do. How many times have we done this where I'm going to get up early, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to stretch, exercise, do yoga, I'm going to write, I'm going to make these phone calls, try to do this, apply for these jobs, go to work, whatever it is you got going on, right? School, family. There seems to be like this list that we make inside of our head that's about 20 to 40 things that we think we should do and that we want to do, all because we are trying to get to another place. Because we think that if we do these things, then we will have these effects. And that's not necessarily wrong. Exercise, diet, better sleep, all the healthy habits that we hear and that we know intellectually certainly would make our lives easier, more efficient probably, right? But in that process of trying to get from here to there, we're not willing to experience or even accept or come to terms with, in maybe a polite way, of what we're currently going through, which is those anxious feelings, which is those desires for change, but the lack of being to where we want to be, all these uncomfortable emotions and sort of spiraling negative thoughts. I realize that in all those times that I try to plan and try to do and I try to change my day to fit the narrative of what I want in the future, it only seems to make me feel worse. And it's just me in my experience, but it makes me feel much worse than if I had just sort of let the day exist as it was maybe meant to, actually. Because we're constantly trying to get to a day, to a week, to a month, to a time in our life where we're peaceful, happy, in the moment, flowing, aligned, not worrying about all the stuff like we used to, and maybe our external life reflects that internal presence that we're talking about here. But not every day can be like that. That's the thing. Not every day is supposed to be like that. So when you have days where you feel shitty, or you think in a negative way, or you're going through something emotional, we get very attached to that because we think we're supposed to be over here. We're in point A, but we want to be in point C, and we recognize that point C is where we'd like to be. So point A doesn't make any sense, and we don't even want to pay attention to point B because we know it's just a passing through point. So point A's and point B basically become this useless place that we just want to get away from. And in my experience, the more that I try to get to point C and pass through point B, and which is basically the journey, the process, I actually don't learn as much, I don't feel better, and I miss out on probably more opportunities than if I had just allowed myself to experience whatever day I was having. And I think that there's this false idea within us that we have to plan things out, that we have to know everything, because we think that will make life easier. But I've been learning, especially recently, it doesn't make life easier to know everything, to plan it out, to know what to do here, then wherever you plan out your whole day. It takes a lot of the meaning out of life, meaning out of your experience, of course, but it also doesn't really work. Again, I will feel more anxious. I'll end up by the end of the day feeling like I haven't gotten what it is that I needed. So if you are having a bad day or anxious, there's this positivity within us, this hope, which isn't bad, but it does exist, and it will tell us to do this, that, and everything that we can, rather than just experience the current emotional state that we're in. We're sort of trying to trick ourselves into not doing that because I think we conditioned to believe that that's not healthy, to experience negative emotions or to be in a negative place, to feel unhappy. Especially when there's a spiritual perspective, people get very confused because they think that they have to be positive all the time. But there is, again, no need to change the present experience. It is perfect the way that it is. I think that the perfection of it is the fact that it's unpredictable and uncomfortable. Otherwise, there would be no growth and there would be no change. So you wouldn't be able to get to point B or point C if it wasn't for the negativity of point A. So people forget that with positivity and negativity. It isn't really like a black and white thing. There's a sliding scale of gray where you transition from one to the other. Often a thing that I've noticed with positive people is they'll constantly tell others to be as positive as them, but they'll forget that you don't really often go from positive to negative. That's not really how it works. You sort of go from negative to, or I should say vice versa. You don't really go from negative to positive. You sort of go, okay, negative, maybe neutral, and then you sort of go into more positive. It's not just this black and white light switch, right? So it's the same thing with our own present experience. There's nothing more uncomfortable than what you're currently going through in the present moment, because that is what you're going through, which is why we avoid it. We want to get to another place. But that discomfort is the solution at the same time. It's a very strange paradox that I don't like to know, but I do know it, and that's why trying to avoid that scenario, trying to avoid the feelings, trying to avoid the present moment, it's why it doesn't work for me, because I basically know better. So for those of you who don't know better, maybe you are having some success, but for the rest of us who come to the realization that whatever we're currently experiencing won't go away, with a new location, a new job, a new friend, X, Y, and Z, right? You can have all this newness in your life, but still feel inadequate due to the present experiences that are going through you, right? So it's like you're carrying a ball and chain the whole time. And it doesn't matter if you drag that ball and chain from some shitty town in Iowa to beautiful tropical Hawaii. The things around you will change. It'll look different, but you'll feel the same. Largely, you'll feel the same. It doesn't matter even if you look different. You could grow a beard out. You could change your hairstyle. You could change your outfit, your whole style. But the feelings within us ultimately have to change for anything on the outside to significantly change, or for us to recognize the change that's already occurred. So the present experience is something that I find would be better left to our ability to handle it, because we are able to do that. We're able to handle these things as an adult. Maybe not as a kid, which is why this probably exists, but as an adult, somebody on a journey who understands a lot of this information, at least intuitively, we are able to go through this. We are able to shift into a better place, into a place where we feel, when we feel that there's something worth going through, right? So the experience itself right now is perfect. And there's nothing else that's better or worse than what you're going through. This is your moment. This is what's happening. This is what you're going through. So trying to escape out of this present experience will make you feel worse in the long run, obviously, but there's no need to run away or escape it in the first place, because if you recognize the negativity that you're going through as not something personal, but rather just bumps in a road that you sort of have to drive over, it doesn't make it more comfortable, but it makes it, you don't suffer because of it, which I think is a big plus. Right? Nobody wants to drive over a shitty road to get to their destination. But if you feel like the shitty road isn't your choice, then it becomes suffering. So in order to eliminate suffering from our lives in this process, you have to, accept the present moment, sure, not run away from the experience, but you have to make it into your own choice. And something can only be your choice if you accept whatever is going on. That's the only way you could make something seemingly that isn't your choice and make it into seemingly your choice, right? So anything that you're going through that's difficult, uncomfortable, accepting it in the present moment is now your choice. Because that is your choice. That's really pretty much where your free will is. I think people have a lot of ideas about free will, which I won't get into now, but I would say that if we're really, really going to get into free will, it would be right down to it, our ability to choose whether or not we're going to suffer in a situation. How does worrying ever really solve anything? For instance, does sitting up late at night, staring into the depths of Pornhub solve anything? Does doing drugs help? Does overeating? Does all the habits that we do, hanging out with people that aren't good for us, obligations, stresses, browsing on the phone, does any of these things, whether they're escapism or distractions, or just us worrying, staying up, overthinking, does any of it actually lead to a solution? Well, of course not. Absolutely not. 98% of the time, it leads absolutely nowhere, and you just end up repeating it again the next day. And this is just because, again, we're trying to get here, but we're here. So you have to go through here to get to there. It's true with any metaphor for travel, and it's true for the sort of internal travel that we're going through in our life as well. So you have to go through this moment, and you have to accept it, and it has to become your choice. Once it's your choice, it's absolutely easy to get through it. So removing the story about how shitty it is that you're experiencing this right now, we take that personal. So if you remove it and make it your choice again, it's much more of a smooth journey, right? Oh, this sucks. I feel like shit. I'm going through this. I can't change. I can't stop this habit. I can't, all this, right? That story of like all that stuff, if we just detach from it, accept what we're going through, sure, accept the fact that, I'm negative right now, or I feel like I suck, or, oh, well, I feel like I'm a shitty person, or this is a shitty experience. Accepting that is better than trying to pretend that it isn't happening, or that you should be over here, because you're not over there, you're here. So if you accept that you feel like a shitty person right now, or you feel like you suck, or you can't do anything, just accepting that that's how you feel is not the same as believing it. It's just an obvious acceptance that this is what's happening. And once you really do accept it, which is something I'm trying to get into myself, it becomes an easier time. And I feel like things then start to shift much more quickly than constantly trying to force yourself to do this and that, to change, to get to point C. Because I feel like that just causes a lot of delays. Because you're probably not emotionally or spiritually ready to handle whatever would be up ahead. So it's sort of like trying to travel across the country without at least getting your oil changed. You do have to accept the limitations of your vessel, your vehicle, your mindset, your human experience. You have to be willing to accept that you're not perfect and that it's not personal. Your perfection or your lack of perfection isn't your fault. Where you are in your life, some things are probably your responsibility and maybe your fault too, but the way that you feel and the conditioned behaviors and the attitudes and the opinions and the beliefs and the difficulties of life have nothing often to do with you. It's not really personal. So letting go of that story that has been ingrained into you and just accepting that, you know what, I feel like this now. That allows the power within you to come up and give you the strength that you need to deal with whatever you're trying to, which often will be made much easier by just allowing yourself to experience whatever it is you're going through at the present moment. Okay, so that's today's video. I hope it helped. If it didn't help you, leave a comment below, and what I promise to do is I'll read it and then delete it because I don't give a shit. Okay guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.